Apple just unveiled its latest top-of-the-line phone, the iPhone 16 Pro Max. But how does it stack up against Samsung's flagship phone, the Galaxy S24 Ultra? Let's compare the specs. And because these specs can only tell us so much, subscribe to CNET so you don't miss any of our coverage as we use the new 16 Pro Max and test it alongside the S24 Ultra IRL. Let's start with prices and storage. While both the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the Galaxy S24 Ultra come in 256 and 512 GB, as well as 1 TB storage options, the 16 Pro Max starts at $1,200, while the S24 Ultra starts at $1,300. The 16 Pro Max features Apple's brand new A18 Pro chip, which it says is the brains behind Apple Intelligence. That's the company's new suite of AI tools that it's launching on the iPhone 16 lineup. It lets you do things like change the tone of your messages, create your own emoji, and search through your photos and videos with keywords. There's also a visual intelligence feature that uses your camera and AI to grab info about the world around you. I'll tell you more about it when we get into camera specs. The S24 Ultra has Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip, designed to support Samsung's suite of AI features called Galaxy AI. You can use it to do things like live translate calls or remove unwanted shadows from a photo. Google also just introduced its new Tensor G4 chip that supports its suite of Gemini AI features on the latest Pixel phones. So Apple is a little late to the AI party, but I'm excited to try Apple Intelligence and see how it compares to the competition. The 16 Pro Max runs on Apple's new iOS 18, while the S24 Ultra runs on Android 14, although Android 15 is coming soon. Apple guarantees at least 5 years of security updates for its iPhones, and the S24 Ultra comes with 7 years of major OS and security updates. At 6.9 inches, the 16 Pro Max has the largest screen ever on an iPhone. The S24 Ultra display is 6.8 inches. The 16 Pro Max has an OLED screen with a 2868 by 1320 pixel resolution at 460 ppi, while the S24 Ultra has an AMOLED screen with a 3120 by 1440 pixel resolution at 501 ppi. The displays on both of these phones have a 1 to 120 Hz variable refresh rate. The 16 Pro Max has a peak brightness of 2000 nits, while the S24 Ultra has a peak brightness of 2600 nits. It's worth noting that the S24 Ultra has an anti-reflective screen that makes everything look more immersive and gives you less of those distracting reflections that you can get with the iPhone. The 16 Pro Max keeps that dynamic island pill, notch, shape-shifting cutout, whatever you want to call it, that lets you see updates from apps like Maps without needing to have them open. The S24 Ultra, on the other hand, has no notch, just a hole punch camera. Despite that larger screen, at 8.25mm thick, the 16 Pro Max is still slightly thinner than the S24 Ultra, which has a thickness of 8.6mm. The 16 Pro Max is also lighter at 227 grams versus 233 for the S24 Ultra. Both the 16 Pro Max and the S24 Ultra have titanium frames that Apple and Samsung tout for their strength. The 16 Pro Max screen features Apple's newest ceramic shield material that it claims is 2 times tougher than any smartphone glass. The S24 Ultra features Corning Gorilla Armor cover glass that Samsung says helps make the phone more scratch resistant. Both the 16 Pro Max and the S24 Ultra are rated IP68, so they're water and dust resistant. The S24 Ultra comes with an S Pen stylus that stores inside the phone. There is no such feature for Apple's new flagship, but I will never stop asking for an iPhone stylus, or at the very least, Apple Pencil iPhone compatibility. Perhaps I am just speaking into the void here. Someone send this to Tim Cook, please. Next, let's talk cameras. The 16 Pro Max has a 3-camera system. It has a 48-megapixel fusion camera with an f1.78 lens, a 48-megapixel ultra-wide camera with an f2.2 lens, and a 12-megapixel telephoto camera with an f2.8 lens and a 5x optical zoom. The S24 Ultra, on the other hand, has a 4-camera system. It has a 200-megapixel wide camera with an f1.7 lens and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera with an f2.2 lens. It also has one 10-megapixel telephoto camera with an f2.4 lens and a 3x optical zoom, and another 50-megapixel telephoto camera with an f3.4 lens and a 5x optical zoom. And for your selfies, both phones have a 12-megapixel front camera. The one on the 16 Pro Max has an f1.9 lens, while the one on the S24 Ultra has an f2.2 lens. The 16 Pro Max can shoot video in 4K up to 120 frames per second, plus spatial video for the Vision Pro in 1080p at 30 frames per second. It's worth noting that you can also capture spatial photos for Vision Pro. The S24 Ultra can shoot video in 8K up to 30 frames per second. Stay tuned for our camera test because there are some differences and similarities between these camera specs, but you really don't know how things look until you start snapping some photos. The iPhone 16 Pro Max has a brand new camera control button. Press it once to open the camera app, press it again to take a photo, or hold it to take a video. You can also press it to start getting info about your surroundings through that visual intelligence feature I talked about earlier. In its Glow Time keynote, Apple showed you how you could use it to identify a dog breed, for example. The Galaxy S24 Ultra includes Google Lens, which also uses the camera and AI to scan your surroundings, but this phone doesn't have a similar camera control button. That being said, the S24 Ultra's S Pen can be used as a camera remote to take photos. Both the 16 Pro Max and the S24 Ultra have USB-C charging ports. The 16 Pro Max supports up to 20-watt wired charging, while the S24 Ultra supports up to 45-watt wired charging. Both phones also support wireless charging, but the S24 Ultra has reverse wireless charging too, so you can juice up other devices from the back of the phone. And to my dismay, none of these phones include a charging brick in the box. Apple doesn't disclose battery capacity, but says the 16 Pro Max offers up to 33 hours of video playback. The S24 Ultra has a 5,000 mAh battery. In her S24 Ultra review, my colleague Lisa Edichico found that after a busy workday doing things like checking email and social media a lot, and even streaming some music and video, she still had 55% battery left after roughly 13.5 hours. I love taking photos and videos, and I am chronically online, so I'm notorious for getting even a Pro Max battery to drain faster than you might expect. So I am very excited to test this new 16 Pro Max battery, especially because Apple claims this phone offers a huge leap in battery life. And you know I'll of course be filming as I put the battery to the test, so I can share my findings with you. Last but not least, let's talk colors. The 16 Pro Max comes in desert, natural, white, and black titanium, while the S24 Ultra comes in black, yellow, violet, and gray. There are also Samsung.com exclusive green, blue, and orange colorways. Those are some of the key similarities and differences between Apple's iPhone 16 Pro Max and Samsung's Galaxy S24 Ultra. You can check out cnet.com for even more spec details on these premium phones. And you can pre-order the iPhone 16 Pro Max on Friday, September 13th, or maybe now, depending on when you're watching this, and the phone will be released on September 20th. Please let me know your thoughts on these devices in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.